Hi, this is Alexis from the Kiteboarder Magazine. We're here at AWSI 2021. I'm here with Mr. Slezak at FCD. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, man. It's good to see everybody back in town. It's nice to actually have an AWSI event this year and have that little sense of community again. It's pretty cool.
It's great being outdoors and like the backdrop, the wind, everything, the hatchery. This place is incredible.
Yeah, it's been, you know, as far as the past year of being kind of stuck in one place, I feel very fortunate to sort of...
You can't get wrong getting stuck here.
Yeah, it's very true.
Well, let's talk about these boards. You got some incredible looking kiteboards this year.
Yeah, you know, one of the big things like with FCD is we didn't really have any kind of crazy material innovations, or we haven't gone on a stretch or huge departure from what we've been doing. But the bigger thing in the last kind of year or two of taking this little step back and slowing down production a little bit was trying to refine what we already had. You know, taking and refining, really honing in and focusing in on like key wear points, any kind of problem areas we were having. You know, there was a point sort of pre-COVID where we were just kind of churning stuff along, but finding a little bit of a hard time to sort of pause and take those moments of really focusing in on what we wanted to sort of how we wanted to move forward. Yep. So the biggest thing I would say within like the last couple of years with FCD is, you know, we took all the feedback we're getting from our ambassadors as well as like our just key consumers who beat the crap out of boards. Yep. You know, and kind of taking that and really kind of put it under a microscope and wanted to see where we can hone in and improve. Yeah. But one thing with Fletch, you know, and Fletcher Chenard Design, so FCD is Fletcher's company, it's his baby, and he is very like keyed into performance. So we wanted to
passionate,
very passionate, but also like the thing is making something that he loves and keeping that performance. So anything that we did, we didn't want to detract from the good characteristics we already had. Yep. So most of that was finding key wear areas. You know, we found, you know, deterioration along the stringer in custom kite surfboards is a huge area. You know, everybody's always landing in the same spot and you're bashing into chop. So, you know, really went and reinforced the stringer area, found, you know, the key areas within the front foot and the back foot, which is, you know, every air, every piece of chop, every time you come off the back of a wave, you know, you're bashing in that same spot. It's a little unlike surfing where everything's a little bit of a miss. Every time you come up, it's a little bit different. Kiting's very much kind of
abusive.
Oh, overly abusive of product. Yeah. You know, and a lot of production boards, that's where we felt they fell short. They're great because they're extremely durable. They're made to not break, but they also sacrifice performance and ride at some point. Yep. And that's not to say there aren't great production boards out there, but we wanted a product that was a little bit sort of to the next level from that.
Livelier.
Yeah, so, you know, they start with iFoam, so we do actually use a different type of foam. You know, it's even if you, it's hard to, you know, it's going to be hard to see in a video, but if you you can kind of almost squeeze and feel the rail. So it's like this shapeable boogie board foam. And what that has is instead of like an EPS or polyester, which are your two kind of typical constructions of custom surfboards or even production boards, these have a little bit of rebound. So it doesn't continue to compress and compress and compress and then break. It sort of finds its spot and then stays within that. So what that does, a couple things for you. It dampens the ride, so we're always riding over chop when we're kiting and we're out in windy conditions. So this takes and dampens that ride, but it also provides a flex and a rebound that's amazing in the performance feel. So anytime you kind of add structure, more layers of glass, like the easy way to solve construction issues, just add more glass.
Make it heavier.
Right, well it makes it heavier and it also makes it more dead, right? It's dead, it's not as lively. So it was finding these key things. So it's reinforcing the stringer, reinforcing your feet areas, and then one of the other big things, maybe a little bit harder to see on this one because of the crazy paint job, but we have added these power rods. So all the way from the tip on this particular board, running down the rails and going all the way and actually incorporating it into the fin box. And it's a carbon basically rope that then gets resined in there. So we used to have what we called carbon spears, which were just flat strips of carbon, kind of ran from maybe first third back to the fin box, and it was great, but it only kind of protected the board in one dimension because it's flat, right? You get strength in one way, but you still have weaknesses in other points. So the carbon rods have added almost like a I-beam kind of concept.
A dual.
Yeah, it's round. It gets solidified within the resin. So we found that, you know, again, we're keeping the performance we want, keeping some strength and rigidity while not sacrificing that flex and rebound. So if you look at the board you have here, and I'll swap it with you, you know, you can see on the blunt, which is our, you know, kind of blunt nosed board, a little bit straighter outline, channeled bottom, they start a little bit further back. And it was just, you know, Fletch kind of making enough prototypes for us and for him and for the crew to find out that, you know, didn't really need these to run all the way to the tip because you don't have the same kind of tip flex that like a traditional pointy nose board would have. But, you know, again, still having all of the liveliness, all of the feel and performance that we want, but stopping any of the sort of twist bucklings we were having and the deterioration of the deck, which is probably the biggest, you know, just refinement we've had. And then, you know, Fletch being who he is and sort of being the perfectionist it's constantly striving for that best riding board and finding that, you know, fine line and balance between overbuilt and dead and underbuilt and kind of weak. And these we found where we're at right now, just honing on that perfectly and just provide the best ride we can for the customer.
Now, what are the main differences between each one of these boards, besides obviously the shape?
So what I have here are two different boards. We have a blunt and we actually have a bore. This is a newer model that we've been working on. It sort of came from our work with actually Rio Stevens, who's one of our ambassadors, and Kiahi and Muna White, who all live in Hawaii. Muna got a surfboard bore because it's a surfboard model of Fletch's, and then the guys started kiting it and freaking loved it. So then Fletch made one for himself, and then he made one for me, and it just sort of has streamlined from there. But this is a more sort of small to medium wave. Like I'd say, I wouldn't call it a true groveler board, but it's not really the straighter outline down the line like point break board, but it's more of your general like what people get for kiteboarding conditions, which is sort of peaky,
kind of all arounder.
Yes, it's one of those boards that'll do everything. You know, there's a point at you know, maybe head and a half, double overhead, it kind of maxes out where you want a board that's a little bit more refined for bigger wave riding. But we have those models in the Shrike, we have those models in the Kite Gun for bigger surf. But this is like, it's just the one I keep in the quiver all the time, the go-to kind of all-arounder. And that I found has just been the most fun for me this past year is the kite bore. And then the blunt is, you know, your super playful air. I ride in the river here a ton on the river swell, and then a lot of those days where you don't really have like true powerful ground swell, but just that sloppy kind of wind chop. So great for doing airs, you know, great for landing sort of fins first, and you have the squared off nose for that. The channeled bottom and the quad fins really work well together. So this is sort of, you know, I found there's a crew of riders in the gorge here that love it because they can ride it here on the river, they can ride it in the coast. You know, you find people that like to ride, you know, a surfboard style board even when there's no waves. Yep. And they're out there just ripping around and practicing different moves and different freestyle side of it. So yeah, the blunt's great for that, the kite bore, and then again I mentioned our Shrike and our Kite Gun. They're sort of those, be the equivalent of like a step-up board for surfing. When it gets a little bit bigger, a little more lined up, a little more meaty, those are the go-tos. They just have a little bit less of that sort of curvature and round outline, straightens it out, helps for those long drawn-out turns on bigger waves.
So I know you didn't talk about all the different board sizes and all the rest of the boards in the line. Where can they go to get all that info?
Yeah, so for the rest of the lineup and kind of checking out all the offerings in kite surfboards, you can go to FCD Surfboards.com. You know, Fletch shapes a ton of different surfboard models as well as kite surfboards, so you can go on there and look at stock sizes. But with that said, everything can be made into a custom size as well, so if somebody really knows like the dimensions they want or what's good for their spot or for them, Fletch will work with them and make a custom board. And even on those stock sizes you can find length, width, thickness, volume, but even with the stock boards, Fletch touches every one of them because he is so passionate about his kite surfboards that he won't let anybody else touch them.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, which is amazing. So go on there, FCDSurfboards.com, check out what's available, and if you don't see what you like in your sizes, he'll make you whatever you want.
Cool. Thank you so much, Jason.
Yeah, man. Thank you.